And we're calling the April 9th Public Health and Safety Committee to order. And did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes? They look good to me. Doug?
Yes, all good.
So I'll say aye.
Okay.
Aye. Fireworks, I saw that you worked on the,
I did.
and I found the 936 original ordinance,
Right, yeah.
and then I found two others that were not signed online. It kind of drives me crazy when they're not signed, I assume that they didn't pass. And that's a tough assumption, because some of these have passed, that the last one, the most recent one, basically, possession of shall be amended, and that one says from 9 till midnight.
Well, one of those didn't pass.
Yeah, that was 2023.
Yeah,
There-
that's the one that didn't even go to council.
Okay, and then the one in 2022 didn't go to council either?
No, none of those went to council.
Okay, so those are...
Because they were going to bring it to council to make it legal to shoot off fireworks on the 4th of July. And they did not even go to council for discussion. It just stayed in public safety. So that would be an option, but we thought that if we put it to the voters, it would have a better chance of staying permanently rather than every year we bring it up again, depending on who's in there.
Even previous to that, I know Chief Wells and I had a sit-down meeting with some council members
Yeah,
and discussed it. It was when Gloria Mahan was still around.
yeah,
And it didn't, I don't even believe it went to council that time either.
no.
It's
The last one was 2018, and-
yeah, that was the,
and we went from allowing, handheld small ones like sparklers and everything, and they brought up the discussion of making them legal on the 4th of July, to completely making it illegal to discharge anything, including sparklers, and so it actually had the opposite happen of what they had originally talked about.
oh boy.
Okay.
Because there was a large, there's a very, people who hate fireworks really, really hate fireworks, and they stood up and they came to the meetings and they talked, and
Sure.
and the other side that doesn't really care until it's the 4th of July and they want to put them off, didn't. So
They didn't make enough noise, yeah.
they didn't make enough noise. So this way, so that's why I kind of was pushing more for the vote, because everyone, if they want to vote on it, they'll get a chance
It's
to.
one thing to have 10 or 12 very vocal against it, it's another thing to have 2,400 for it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
putting it to a vote, I think, is a really good idea.
Well, it kind of makes it then, like Dave says, if someone comes up and say, why did you legalize it? And we're like, well, the voters wanted it.
Legalized it,
Yeah.
exactly.
Or why is it still illegal? It's like, well, the voters didn't want, it didn't pass, so.
Okay, so the title, you have a resolution of the City Council of the City of Red Lodge calling for an election on the question of allowing fireworks within the city limits of Red Lodge. Isn't it, to allow the detonation? I
Yes.
think it's already legal to.
It is, thank you. I literally just wrote this, so.
Yeah, no, I knew
Allowing
that,
the discharge.
yeah. The
of
old one
fireworks.
said detonation, that's why I went with detonation.
I guess it doesn't,
It
what would
doesn't
you call it, detonation or discharge?
Discharge.
Discharge, okay, because we just had to be consistent.
Ignition,
Yeah.
Okay, so
The
that's
fireworks.
one,
detonation makes it sound like a bomb.
I know, exactly.
and that's bad?
Right, yeah.
Well, I think,
And I was looking at all of the whereases on this one, and I don't know, there's a whole bunch of whereases on the last version
right.
that never made it to city council, so that was rather interesting, whether or not we should take some of that. Didn't Dave say something that we had to do an MCA?
We don't, he didn't realize what I was doing. He called me last night and said, I was wrong, I'm sorry, so.
Dave, I hope you're listening.
I think he's teaching, so.
Okay, so making the discharge, see, you use discharge here, of fireworks illegal within the city limits, okay.
Yeah,
Whereas Red Lodge is a destination for Fourth of July festivities and fireworks have historically been a part of that celebration. And we'll
Yep.
put a period there. Whereas emergency services have stated that the safest place to discharge fireworks is near a water source away from tall grass forests,
indoor forest, yeah.
which would typically
Be.
be inside the city limits and not outside of the city limits. Whereas dispatch has a high volume of fireworks complaints, should be complaints or calls.
It could be either.
Yeah,
Why don't we do, calls
okay.
during the Fourth of July holiday? And while our police department tries to handle the majority of these calls, they are a secondary priority behind emergency calls that substantially increase due to the influx of visitors for the Fourth of July festivities.
I didn't want it to sound like you were ignoring them. Because you don't.
You're correct.
You do go, if you have manpower, you do
But
go.
again, you're busier in the summer.
Yeah, well, and on the Fourth of July, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You get 10,000 visitors in town.
when the population quadruples.
Yeah,
Whereas the city council appreciates that discharging fireworks within city limits is a contentious subject, and I would leave that at that point.
okay.
With avid supporters, that I would get rid of with avid supporters on one side and hatred on the other, and several, so that, and don't care either way. I
Okay,
think we
so just,
subject.
just subject, okay, all right.
Are you
they get the
agreeing with
point.
all of this, Doug?
So far,
Okay,
Okay, good.
perfect.
yeah,
Okay.
that, yeah, the verbiage of hatred kinda got my attention.
Well, no, they do, they hate them.
Yeah,
They
yeah, it's
they
not
absolutely
dislike,
hate,
it's
it's
hate.
hate.
Yeah.
No, they hate them.
And it's not, I don't think that they hate them as much as they hate what the pets, you know, the
Yeah,
dogs
yeah,
especially
they-
get very upset.
Well, they just,
And I
the
mean,
whole
you know, I
thing, the
found
whole-
discharged fireworks in my yard, rockets and stuff.
oh, yeah.
Whereas the city council shall, comma, by resolution, comma, leave the decision up to the voters of Red Lodge. I like that. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council of the city of Red Lodge asks the voters to decide the legality of discharging fireworks in the city limits of Red Lodge on the Fourth of July.
July 4th.
They're gonna put the time in right there?
That's what I
And I'm okay with that from noon to midnight,
Yeah.
as kind of what we talked about, so you're within that quiet hour type thing.
Yeah.
okay.
From,
Noon to
Noon.
midnight.
And I prefer noon to midnight because there's no discussion of 12 AM, 12 PM.
right,
People get confused. In real estate, I avoid it like the plague.
yeah, and it would then technically, if you say the 4th of July, it'd be legal to start shooting them off at 12:01 AM on that morning.
Yeah.
So that would probably not go over well.
12 PM.
No, 12 AM.
It's illegal at 12 AM.
Yeah, that's what I'm
See,
saying.
that's where the AM,
If you
PM.
don't put it in there,
Yeah.
then, people could start shooting it off July 4th at
Yeah.
12:01 AM, which is really the night of the 3rd still.
Yeah.
when people are
Like I say,
shooting.
they're very,
So.
it's very confusing.
Yeah, okay.
And then you have the check boxes for allowing the discharge of fireworks that are legal in the state of Montana within the city limits of Red Lodge.
On July 4th, and then we'll add from noon to midnight.
Okay, we'll add that. And same with, the second one too.
Okay. All right.
Does that look good to everybody?
Mhm.
Okay.
All right. Is there anyone online? No. They're sleeping like normal people.
Health and safety.
Great.
I think you did great on your,
First stab at it.
yeah. So we don't have to do all that whereas stuff that was.
You can put whatever whereases you want in there. I just thought these were the main points on why we were even bringing this up.
Yeah.
You know,
because-
it's not because we just, you know, it,
Well, we're amending it and there's already a bunch in here.
right, well, it's just, we want, we're not amending the ordinance at this time, we're just simply putting
Passing a
resolution to ask for it to go on the ballot, is what we're
Okay.
doing, and this is why we want it voted on by the public.
Yeah,
Perfect.
covers all the bases.
Okay.
Perfect.
Good job.
Good job. If that was your first draft, that was pretty damn good.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll get it
So,
moving
did
forward.
you hear back from Dennison on our,
No,
okay.
oh, on this?
Yeah,
Or, no, not yet, he has not responded back to me, but I'll make those changes and send it over.
yeah.
'Cause we'll want Dennison to get, put his
stamp on it.
yeah, and make any changes he feels we need. And then we'll send it over, to the county and make sure it's ballot ready, and then we'll have council vote on it.
Okay. So our next one is Dennis,
Dennison, yeah.
Dennison, and then the second thing is county review.
Yeah,
That's number 2.
yeah. I thought the council would approve it first, but,
It's probably better.
Dave thought it would be better to have the county look at it first, so that we didn't have to vote on it twice if
Yeah.
they have changes, so.
Yeah. Okay, public safety district, 5 miles outside the
Okay.
city limits.
So I have, go ahead.
Regarding your question from, the last number that I gave you, where I excluded traffic stops,
Yeah,
I have that, I got the number finalized by one of
Okay.
my sergeants yesterday. And since, our new system, was launched, where we do all of our records keeping, in the year of 2020, I believe it was January, if my memory serves me correctly, may have been a couple months after. But roughly, 684 stops from now, or excuse me, from then until now. So 684 traffic contacts initiated by Red Lodge PD outside city limits.
okay.
And that's just traffic?
That's
Yeah.
just traffic, yeah.
So he's got here,
Did they originate outside of city limits, or is that where they?
They were initiated outside of city limits by TD guys, yeah. And then the other figure that I gave was, I think I sent it, did I send it in an email to you and the mayor? I printed
yeah.
that out. But
Yeah,
I
you
did send an
sent,
additional
yeah,
one.
you did, right, yeah, you sent that, let me grab that email.
So the 684, what period was that for?
We are looking at the beginning of January 2020 until present.
And is there, increase in there? I mean, recently, is it a lot more than 4 years ago?
It's, over 100 a year. I think it's staying pretty consistent, but it's a lot,
Right.
yeah.
Let's see,
And that's as simple as going past Two Mile Bridge Road,
Mhm.
north on 212.
Right.
Going south of White Avenue and, West Fork Road, west of
right there.
Willow Creek, where the Spires is. We are in charge of that area, on 78.
Is that just under?
491 calls for other service.
Right,
Is what
okay,
you
so,
had.
yeah, excluding, so we're
So-
looking at well over 1,000 calls then, or contacts for police department outside the city limits since the year of.
So,
2020.
yeah, so 491 calls is where you actually were
Contact.
called there, contact and asked to go.
Correct, yeah.
And then, 684 are just
Traffic
traffic
stops, so you had 684 traffic stops, 491 contacts.
Yeah.
Calls,
I'm respons-
calls for service, which
I'm-
aren't traffic.
I'm responsible for probably 2 of those stops. My team did all the rest.
2?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of traffic anymore. It's
Yeah.
difficult.
Sometimes you just can't can't not do it, huh?
Correct, yeah, there are times where I'm away from the desk and
You see something.
you have to do something, correct, yeah.
Okay, so we'll put that in there.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean, that's quite,
a lot.
yeah, it is,
1,000, that's 250.
a year, yeah.
And this year isn't over.
Correct, yeah.
I think the important number is the calls for service.
Absolutely,
Those
because
are more
that's where,
time consuming.
well, and that's
Well,
where they actually call
They're
you.
being
You're
requested into the area,
Mhm.
right,
so the people you're
service,
wanting to pass this measure understand that they're actually calling for service right now.
right, absolutely. So,
Out of curiosity, if Red Lodge Police Department has that many, does the county also respond to those? Or
Oh,
do they
yeah.
leave, yeah, so they also,
It's like,
Whoever's close.
it's a large county, and a lot of times nobody's currently immune to staffing issues, right?
right,
They could have as few as one, which is incredibly rare, to as many as 4, and they're all tied up North County or out in the valley, and if it's something that's at the mile marker 73, 4 or 5, it's easy makes it easier on everybody,
if Red Lodge,
when they request us to go, and also, it's difficult for, especially if it's an emergency, for my guys to sit there 3 miles away. Oh, I know, they won't do that,
No, okay,
yeah.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, no, they're
Cost
pretty
to
square.
taxpayers to fund.
So, Lonnie and I did sit down with Lonnie. We couldn't find what she had already worked up, except for, she did get a printout from Chad of the city map and the fact that we have 2,082 parcels, to be fully contained within the city limits. Now, we need to do the whole 5-mile loop around and when we were doing this before, we weren't actually doing like a mill base, we were doing like a fee
A flat
per,
rate.
a flat rate, so it was easier to calculate. But I think that a mill levy would probably obviously keep up better than, you know, a flat fee, because that's what the ambulance district ran into. They did $69 per parcel, and now it's not enough to fund their,
And then they
what
have to
they're
go
doing.
back to the voters.
yeah, and now ask for a different way of doing it. But, you know, just a quick calculation, if you did, you know, if you wanted $500,000 in it to fund it, obviously that's not gonna fund the whole police department,
Correct.
but, you know, and you divide 2,082, 500,000 divided by 2,082, no, that doesn't make sense. Hang on. 2,082, it should be $240 a year
Okay,
within the, that would just be if you did the fee within the city limits.
okay.
So you would, but if you go 5 miles out, you know, you're gonna pick up quite a few more properties.
And is that
And
based
if
on a
you-
flat rate?
That would be a flat rate. So I'm just
For
saying that you, would-
500,000?
yeah, if you wanted to fund 500,000. So, I mean, it could, I think that would basically be the average that you'd want if you were just doing the city limits. But you're gonna have more parcels and more value outside, but you're also gonna run into ag land, which is not gonna have that value.
Mhm.
Majority of the value is going to be inside the city limits.
And the voters just got relieved of $350 on their taxes because we're now charging for garbage.
Well,
on
yeah,
the
they're
bill.
still paying it though.
Well, I'm
Yeah.
saying immediately, I'm just
Yeah.
kind of laughing, saying that we asked for 240 and, you know,
Yeah, but, I mean, if you're gonna do this, you need to,
well, let's
I
start
don't
with
know.
what we think we might need. In other words, if you had one more officer, which is kind of what would make the department happy, is at $100,000. Now, if we did $100,000,
Starting new officer, I figured with Lonnie, it's approximately $80,000,
Yeah,
83 in that area there.
so that would cut this, 240 down to 120. It might be easier to swallow.
that would be 250,000.
Or, no, 100,000.
No, I just did 500,000.
No, I know, 500,000 is 240 a year.
Right, 250,000 would
So
be
100,000 would be 1/5 of that. So that's,
So if you did
40, yeah, I mean,
divided
it's
by
pretty
282.
inexpensive.
That's $100,000 is $48. But I don't think 100,000 is gonna get you very far, personally.
So the other question, the measure that just failed was ambulance service, right?
Right.
So is it appropriate to attach the ambulance service
To
to
the
this as
police.
well? Because
Yeah, public
it
safety.
is public safety. And
Yeah.
I can tell you, it's a lot easier to sell an ambulance
Then it
than
is,
it is a police car.
yeah,
Not that they're not less important, it's just how the public
perceives it.
loves to see an ambulance and they hate to see a police car.
I know,
Depends on the time.
Depends
Well,
on
the
time.
problem.
I know.
But
I
I
like that
can
idea,
remember the
Ron.
complaints that people didn't like the
Oh,
North
yeah, no,
patrol
that's-
car on Main Street while they were eating because it just didn't set the right mood to have a police car parked on Main Street in front of the restaurant they were eating at, looking out the window.
They can speak with me directly.
But I remember that.
Did you
complaint
park on
coming
the
to
street?
But that's gotta be the minority.
Well, it is, it's
I
the,
hope
it's
so.
the 10%.
I just,
it's the 10% that yells
The
loud,
loudest.
we think they're the 80%.
There's always silly complaints like that.
Okay, what was the ambulance service asking for? They were asking for mills.
They were, but they revamped it now where they're trying to do a county-wide ambulance district instead of just the Red Lodge ambulance, you know, Red Lodge rural, Red Lodge,
And so
Roberts ambulance district is what they have now.
I'm just saying, is,
it
should
would,
there be discussion with the ambulance part of this, just to see,
Yeah,
if you're
and,
gonna do all this work, and you're gonna put it to a vote,
right.
Killing two birds with one stone.
yeah.
what's the deadline on the ambulance one that they're pursuing right now? The countywide ambulance?
It's coming up, I don't know when it's coming up for a vote. Is it in June or November? I don't know that we'll have time.
Oh, so it definitely is coming up for a vote.
Yeah,
Okay.
it will be for sure. I just,
So who's putting that together?
Tom.
Yeah, there's
So the
flyers.
ambulance service is not part of the city at all, right?
Mm-mm. No, it's not. It's a total separate entity that,
So the timing is also, if they're gonna get hit with two things to raise their taxes,
yeah.
how are they gonna react to that? How are they gonna vote?
That, you know, that has been my main concern all along because we seem to be adding fees, you know, whether it's, the stormwater fee is coming up now, you know, and yes, I absolutely want that project done so we don't have the next cat loss, hailstorm or flood, we don't have flood water going up to people's toilets.